One thing about church members, they do not play about their pastor. They make sure that their pastor is comfortable during service. They give them the little drink with the paper towel on top, make sure that they're comfortable. They stay after church to talk to them, to get advice and guidance. They really admire their pastor, which of course, they're the man or woman of the house. They want to make sure that they feel appreciated. But there are some times when this admiration turns to a little idolization. They start to think of that pastor as the personification of God. Perfect. He can make no mistakes. Even though sometimes we may see our pastor do something a little bit ungodly outside of church or say and do inappropriate things. But where do we draw the line? Is it when the pastor starts to say and do inappropriate things to you? Is it when they start to refer to themselves as God? Is it when they start to tell the congregation to refer to him as daddy? Or father, or his excellency? Or is it when that pastor hands you a knife and tells you to sacrifice a fellow church member? Where do we draw that line? Well, now we're headed over to Jamaica to uncover a case where a pastor thought it was a great idea to sacrifice several of his church members. This is the bloody sacrificial case of Pastor Kevin O. Smith. Kevin O. Smith was born in Glen Gulf, St. Catherine, and migrated to Canada in 1993. His aunt said that he started in his ministry in Canada, married and later divorced, and established himself in Jamaica in 2011 when he returned. Kevin Smith is the pastor at a church called Pathway International Kingdom Restoration Ministries in Paradise. A mouthful. This church is located at 144 Albion Street in Montego Bay in the parish of St. James. Was that good? Jamaica. In the initial days of the church, everything went as normal. It was a regular church operating as a regular church. You had baptisms, you had marriages, you had funerals, you had service. Just your regular church. But over time, Kevin Smith became known for his bizarre teachings. And we're just going to go over a few. One, he felt that you can tell a person came from a line of witches in their family if they wet their bed later in life. So basically, if they're still 5, 6, 7 years old wetting the bed, there's some witches in the family. He also believed that you can listen to secular music only if you listen to these artists. And excuse me if I mispronounce their name. Sizzla, Capleton, Buju Baton, Beanie Man, I know who that is, Queen Africa, and a few others. Also believe that you can and you should smoke a little weed because it can raise your level of consciousness. I agree with that. He was not a supporter of the vaccine. He thought it was the mark of the beast. I'm whispering that part so YouTube won't hear me. And if anybody in his congregation received the mark of the beast, they would have to sign themselves out of the church to never return. And if they had their money in any banks that supported the vaccine, that they should withdraw it. Speaking of withdrawing money, there was a fee to be a member of this church, and he referred to his church as the Ark, referring to Noah's Ark. So there was a membership to be a part of the Ark, and if they couldn't afford it, he told them to get a loan from the bank. And the fee to be a part of this ark was 100,000 Jamaican dollars, which can be converted over to about 650 American dollars.
Going to have to till the ground, work the ground to pay worship to him. That's why he says the 10 fingers, your 10 toes, as you walk the earth, and give them 10 toes. Remember, when you walk pan, I'm a tide. And when you work and cut and reap, remember your 10 fingers, the deca, it means who you pay tribute to. I am your king as long as you pay tribute to me. So the day you stop pay tribute is the day you stop worship. And the day you stop worship, you can't live yourself. Let me give you the understanding. When you have a landlord and the landlord say, you rent my place, as long as you pay your rent, you can stay in peace. The day you stop paying your rent, you have to come out of yourself. Me have to talk it so no get what me I say. So when people said, I can't pay my tithes, which is the worship, God's law said you must, by the sweat of your brow, you must eat bread.
They were advised not to bring their phone to service, and if they showed up to service late, they had to pay a late fee.
How many of you were late? $200 can pay for the whole of your Jingman family.
Kevin proclaimed himself to be God and wanted people to address him as such. They can call him Daddy, Father, His Excellency, or even Your Majesty. He believed he was a king walking the earth. And it's alleged if he had some wealthy members of the church that had money and they were a little stingy with it, didn't want to cough up the money, he would hint at the reluctant members that they were going to die in a crash, and he would send his wrath onto the member and their family. Smith would allegedly use threatening terminology to get the money, and his method was described as dictatorial. If a particular member of the church wanted to go on vacation, they would first have to seek permission from Pastor Smith, who said that without his covering, the member and his or her family would not pass through immigration. And when it was time for service on Sundays, you just couldn't walk into the church doors, even though they say church doors are always open. For this church, you couldn't just walk in. You had to line up outside and wait for Pastor Smith to call your name from his list. And when he calls your name, you have to sign 999 after your name, and he will sign 999 after your 999. So as we can see, Pastor Smith is quite an interesting pastor, or is it safe to call him an occult leader? So it seems that Pastor Smith had full control over his congregation, even though he felt that they were all victims of bloodline pollution caused by witchcraft, causing them to have sex dreams, and he needed to do a cleansing ceremony. So he decided to do a bloodletting ceremony to cleanse the church of this wrath of witchcraft, because that's what witchcraft does. It causes you to have sex dreams. Okay. Speaking of sex dreams, if you would like to improve that area, you can get your love and sex incense from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. And if you want to add in a little razzle dazzle, burn the goddess incense and the love and sex incense at the same time while you're doing your grown people stuff. So just letting you know, it'll enhance the energy. Okay, so Pastor Smith sent Facebook messages to his members advertising the bloodletting ceremony. And along with this message advertising the bloodletting ceremony, it states, "The ark is loading now. Leave immediately dressed in all white." There was a post sent out around 8 p.m. stating, "I am His Excellency, Dr. Kevin O. Smith, crowned bishop and end-time Nabi, conqueror, lion of the tribe of the Judah, King of kings and the Lord of lords, Jesus Christos, the one true and living God." He then went on to prophesy about an apocalypse that would take place in which 999 planes bearing the number 6 will fall from the heavens across Jamaica and the whole world on December 2nd, 2021. As we can see, that did not happen. There was also a Facebook post made on October 15th, 2021, informing his congregation to attend the church on October 16th, 2021, so that he could speak with them. On October 16th, the members of the church gathered dressed in all white as they were ordered by Dr. Smith. At about 6 p.m., Dr. Smith told them that before entering the church, they should bow down on their knees and he will judge them and write their names in the Lamb's Book of Life. He also instructed them to cover their heads with something white, as he did not want anyone to look on his glory. The service went from 6 p.m. October 16th to 1 a.m. October 17th. Speaking of attending service, one thing I forgot to mention before, you know, in church when they have visitors come in, they'll ask everyone to stand, they'll welcome you, they'll have some chairs out. At least my church used to do this, where they asked if they wanted to join the church. For Pastor Smith, he would have some of the visitors come to the front of the church and strip down naked in front of everyone. Going back to the story, approximately 50 members of the congregation arrived to the church dressed in all white to board the ark. And the purpose of the ark was because Pastor Smith warned them that there is a great flood coming. They also had participated in a 2-day fasting on Friday and Saturday before Sunday service. And this was to prepare for the Noah's Ark redemption journey. And you may be wondering what's up with this ark, where are they going? We'll cover that throughout the story. The ritual began on October 17th, 2021. They had been told by Pastor Smith to arrive dressed in all white, like I said before, leaving their phones at home wrapped in aluminum foil. A person we will refer to as Witness A, we don't have their name, so they will be referred to as Witness A throughout their statements. And another witness will be Andre Ruddock, who was acting as the pastor's security guard. He is another witness as well that we will be referring to. They arrived at the church to feed Dr. Smith's animals, and about 9 a.m., Dr. Smith ordered the members to throw away all sodas, fill them up with water, as well as throw away any canned food, and instructed more than 100 of his followers at the church to start throwing away certain items on the property, such as wipes, tissues, and soaps. And this is all according to Witness A. So if they're boarding an ark, why are you throwing all this food and supplies away? I'm not sure. So with all of this preparation going on, Dr. Smith finally arrived at the church around 2:35 p.m. with Kevon Palmer, and he stormed into the church saying, "I am God in the flesh. Enter into the ark before the door closes." Basically saying, enter into the church before the door closes. And while all of this preparation is going on of just throwing things away, a wine bottle broke in the process. So with this wine bottle breaking, Pastor Smith told Kevon that he should cut the throat of the person that broke the wine bottle so that they can enter into the kingdom. So basically, Pastor Smith told Kevon to cut the throat of Witness A. And of course, Witness A was like, no, you're not about to do that to me. He walked away. And then Pastor Smith just handed him a knife and told him to cut the throat of another member. Of course, I feel like anybody with common sense who would be instructed to do that would be like, hell no, that's crazy. But Kevon took the knife, chased down the other person along with somebody else, and stabbed him in the back. So of course, when this happened, everybody else in the church ducked down trying to figure out what's going on. And then Pastor Smith just went on a rampage. He started destroying glass that was on the altar, destroying the glass windows, just destroying his own property. And then in the midst of all this chaos, Pastor Smith allegedly handed out knives to other followers, telling them that they were the archangels and encouraging them to slash their fellow members. I don't know if he was trying to recreate a Roman God war, but he just wanted everybody just to start jabbing at each other. And what did they do? Started jabbing at each other. So while all of this is going on, one of the horrific events that took place is the killing of a church member, Michael Brown, who was suffering from health issues which resulted in tubes being attached to his body. So Michael Brown is already sick, tubes coming from his body just to live. Pastor Smith tells him, "You have to die, but you will rise again, because I am the resurrection and the light." And he snatches the tubes from his body, and Mr. Brown ended up bleeding to death. As the chaos continued, a church member by the name of Tanika Gardner arrived at the church, and she was bombarded with questions by Pastor Smith, asking, "Do you believe I can raise you from the dead?" Tanika Gardner answered, "Yes." And then Pastor Smith told Witness A, that we were referring to cut Gardner's throat. Witness A refused. So when Witness A said no, that didn't stop Pastor Smith. He just told another member, Andre Ruddock, to cut Tanika Gardner's throat. Andre Ruddock got to where Miss Gardner was. She knelt down before him, and Andre used a knife to cut Tanika Gardner's throat. It was told that Tanika did not scream or make a sound when this happened. All a witness heard was just a gurgling sound of her losing her breath and bleeding. And then Pastor Smith continued telling Andre to cut Tanika Gardner's head off. She is a goat. She has to die. She's a sacrifice. Andre did not cut off Tanika's head. Then another member was instructed to strip naked, and he died the same way by getting his throat cut. And Pastor Smith stated this was a way to get the impure blood out of his body. With all of this chaos going on, and it seems like all the church members are going with the flow, one person had some sense to call the police. This woman was allegedly physically harmed because she was not obeying Pastor Smith's orders. So when the police arrived, they were greeted with gunfire coming from church members. Of course, there was a gunfire exchange. Kevon Palmer, Mr. I'ma do whatever Pastor Smith says, advanced towards police officers armed with a machete, which the police officer shot and killed him. The police eventually entered into the building and found bodies of deceased members. 3 more of the members were taken to the hospital, one with life-threatening injuries. Pastor Smith was held for questioning along with 10 men and 31 women who were at the church during the ceremony. There were even 14 children who witnessed all of this, and they were taken into protective care. There were witnesses stating how she fled the scene. There were people trying to hop over the gate because at that point they knew Pastor Smith went too far and this couldn't be right. A witness stated, "It was very intense. When I saw blood and the young lady fall, I said, this isn't for me, and I walked away. I started to put one and one together. I saw 2 lady church members jump the fence. I said, no, this can't be right. And those 2 were normally close to Pastor. Police said that they found the blood-stained building littered with valuables along with livestock and food in the cellar designed to resemble an ark. And just to show how much manipulation Pastor Smith had over his congregation, Smith lived in a hillside mansion, had a new BMW X6, designer clothes, and jewelry. While in custody, there were also questions that were brought up in regards to his behavior to young boys. There were always seemed to be young boys around him being his little assistants, holding an umbrella while he's swimming in his pool. Just awkward relationships with the youth. With all of these witness statements, videos coming out, pictures coming out, you would think that church members would start to turn against Pastor because they realize that he isn't who he say he is. But there were people still supporting him online, making posts that says, no matter what people say, he is excellency. He speak the true prophecy. Posting messages that says, thank you, your majesty. The witches of government who have hijacked the church are against the truth. They were paid millions to deceive the people, but his excellency speaks the truth. So they don't believe that Pastor Smith conducted this war basically, but witches came into the church and did it themselves, and it was not in the hands of Pastor Smith. He had no control over it. Kevin Smith was charged with murder in connection with the incident. Andre Ruddock, who was reportedly acted as Smith's personal bodyguard, as we can see, remained in police custody, and he was also facing murder charges along with other members of the church. So during this investigation, they decided to take a look into Pastor Smith's laptop, which they found evidence that him and his senior members of the organization were planning to sacrifice up to 144 members of the church. And connecting that number 144, we know in the Bible it says that only 144,000 people will be granted everlasting life. And remember, I told you before that the church was located on 144 Albion Street. So that adds on a numerology aspect. So while being held in custody, the Jamaican Observer reported that Pastor Smith was being taken to Montego Bay to CIB headquarters in downtown Kingston, reportedly because of the behavior of police personnel where he was being held in Montego Bay. There was a video of him referring to himself as God, which seems normal coming from him, but instead of being in handcuffs behind a cell, being treated like an inmate, he was just all barefoot and comfortable, rocking side to side in a chair.
Rapture is the reaping.
No, but you said 9 o'clock you have open at the heart.
Rapture is raptus, which is rape, torture. That is what the rapture is. I come with salvation. I do not come to rape my people of their freedom, of their breath. You have to pay in this nation to walk your footprint, carbon footprints. If you march in this nation, you must pay. If you breathe in this nation, you must pay. Do you not understand that Pharaoh has built his great house and he is stepping on your necks? Pharaoh tried to bring me down, but I am that I am. All you people of the world, I came to you in this form. I am Samuel, born in Glengulf, Victoria, the year of jubilee and victory. But what happened? Oh, hospital, mat. They made my life a mat. I suffered, I bled. Look at this night when I came to call all of my sheep, the stray sheep from the 12 tribes and nation. The thunder comes, the cloud comes, and the rain comes. But you did not believe my report. I am the fountain of life. I am the Catherine Peak. I come from St. Catherine. That's why you gave me water from where I come from. St. Catherine, Jamaica is where I was born. I have fulfilled all things. At the age of 9 years old, the angel of the Lord came and spoke to this body and asked me if I will give the eternal yes. I have given the eternal yes. I came as Jonah the Warner. But they mocked me and they scoffed me. They surrounded me and they looked at me and said, who is this man?
because man, God was tabernacled in man's seed of men. I carried the government.
It's like, hello, this is a criminal. Why is he just lollygagging all comfortable with the employees? So this made many people believe that he may get off on his charges due to his popularity, and reportedly he had connections to powerful people at the top in Montego Bay. So when this video came out, they said, nope, we need to get him up out of here. Y'all not treating him right. They decided to transport him to somewhere else. So reports from the Director of Public Prosecution on Monday morning, October 25th, 2021, said that a voluntary bill of indictment was to be issued on Monday morning for him to be tried at the Home Circuit Court in Kingston. While in transit, there were two cars, one holding Kevin O. Smith and another holding another suspect. I believe it was Andre. According to an eyewitness on Twitter, two police vehicles escorting him. The marked one created a third lane and went through fine. The one escorting Smith somehow lost control and hit a vehicle. It then spun and hit another vehicle before stopping. When first responders arrived, it took them over an hour to get Pastor Kevin Smith's lifeless body out of the car. Kevin Smith was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital, and one police officer died as well during this accident, 26-year-old Orlando Irons, who was in the car with Kevin Smith as well. So a lot of people believe that his death was a hoax. They felt that, okay, so he killed all these people, then now all of a sudden when he's about to face the consequences for his delusional actions, he dies in the process. They thought since he knew so many higher ups in Montego Bay that they set something up to have him just live somewhere else. Maybe he did hop on that ark and leave from the island, which was the original plan for this big old sacrifice to happen, and then for the members who survived to hop on the ark and leave the island. They could remove themselves from the apocalypse that was going to happen with the 999 planes, the flooding. He wanted to just do a sacrifice, full on ritual, and then with everyone who survived, now you deserve your spot on the ark so we could get up out of here. And people actually fell for it. So usually in these stories, these individuals have to face their consequences and go to jail. But Kevin Smith died before any of that can happen. So you guys let me know, do you believe that he really passed away? Do you feel like he's hiding out somewhere? Have you guys heard of this case? Were you a member of this church? Do I have anybody from Jamaica watching this video that has more information? Do you know of any pastors who think of themselves as God and act as such and expect people to treat them as such? Let me know down below of any other cases or incidents you have heard of. Let me know if you want to hear more of these crazy pastor stories, because there are plenty. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. And like I always say, as above, so below, as within, so without, as universal, the soul. Until next time, you guys, Ashe, baby.